Right, we're going to have a look at creating movie clips now, which is one of the most useful things really in Animate. It enables you to create little kind of almost like sub-animations. So in your main, if we look at my kind of main animation here on the main timeline, you can see the layers and the animation set up here. So I've got my character moving, I've got the virtual camera going. But if I wanted additional animation in here, I can either add it onto the main timeline, or I can create a kind of sub animation nested inside a movie clip. It's particularly can be really useful for some things that maybe animate on a bit of a loop, so they have the similar kind of movement that plays over and over again. So I'm just going to show you an example. I mean, you can use it for loads of things, but I'm going to show you an example with the sun here. So basically in the background, what I want the sun to do is just kind of glow a little bit. Okay, kind of brighten and then go a bit duller and brighten again. So I've created the sun already. So obviously you've got to create the asset for it initially. Created a layer for it. The next thing is, like we do with most layers, is we need to decide how long this whatever's on the layer is going to be in the scene for. So we want the sun to be in the entire scene. So obviously I've got my keyframe at the beginning here with the sun on, so I want it to be in the entire scene. So if I just click at the end of this scene here, press F5, and that will just block it out to there. So we've got now the sun all the way through the whole scene. Okay, so but at the moment it's a static sun, so now we want to animate it. So if I click on the layer to select the object, it's the easiest way to be sure that you've selected the whole object, and then turn it into a movie clip. So to turn it into a movie clip, I can either press F8, or I can go to Modify and Convert to Symbol, and then hopefully this is becoming a bit familiar, a little bit familiar now. Convert to Symbol box, give it a name, make sure it's a movie, set to movie clip, make sure registration's in the center, and then OK it. And then you'll see hopefully that familiar blue line will appear around it to tell us that that's now a symbol, more specifically a movie clip symbol. So that's the first part. So this is on the main timeline. The actual animation is going to happen inside, like I said, nested inside here. So this is what's really great about movie clips. If I double click on this on the object, this takes me inside the movie clip where there's another timeline. Okay, and then I can create an additional separate piece of animation on this new timeline. So like I said, I want to make it kind of glow on and off, and I want to turn this into a movie clip again. I'll explain why that is in a minute. So if I press F8 or go to Modify and Convert to Symbol again, and this time I'm going to call it Sun Animation. Okay, the reason I've turned it into a movie clip is because I want to apply what's called a tween to it. I have mentioned tweens before. We've used them on the camera and we've used them on the walk cycle tutorial. So the reason I've turned it to movie clip is I want to use a tween with it. So I'm initially, first of all, going to set up the keyframes. Now I want it to fade in and out, the sun, over about 10 frames, so a fairly short looped animation. So if I go to frame 6, press F6 and insert a keyframe there, and then frame 10 and insert a third keyframe, I've now got three spaced out keyframes. Okay, I can now insert the tween I was talking about. So if I right click in between the first two keyframes and select a classic tween, you can do it the other way around actually. You can add the tween and then put the keyframes in, but anyway, there's different various ways of doing some things. And I'm going to insert the second classic tween. So I've got tweens now in between these three keyframes, but there's nothing changing, there's nothing actually moving or changing. So now I'm going to apply the change. So if I click on the second keyframe here, So at this point I want it to have faded a bit. Now to make it fade, if I click on the actual movie clip here, you'll see I have the properties of the movie clip appear. And if we look under colour effect here, and where it says style, if I click on the drop down where it says none and select alpha, now alpha is another word for transparency. So I can here modify the transparency of the movie clip between 0 and 100%. So it's initially set at 100%, so I just want it to fade down a bit to about halfway, about 50%. So you see if I scrub the needle back now, it's just subtly kind of glimmering or glowing. So it's fading down to about 50% at the third keyframe. Now I want it to fade back up. By the time it gets to the third keyframe, I want it to fade back up to 100%. Now it's already at 100% at because that's the default setting at the third frame, so that's fine. So we've got it fading from 100% at frame 1, 50% frame 2, back to 100 at frame 3. If I press enter, you'll see that's our little looped animation. So really useful thing. If I go back to scene 1 now, to the main timeline, all that animation I've just made is still what we call nested inside this movie clip. Now if I try and see that little nested animation on the main timeline by just scrubbing the needle here, I can see all the animation I've placed on the main timeline here, but it won't show me any nested animations inside any movie clips. The only way to see that, and this is true also of the nested animation inside the character here, the walk animation. The only way to see that is to test the movie. Okay, so to do that, if you go to Control, or Test Scene, should I say more specifically, to just see that particular scene. So Control Test Scene, or again, take note of the shortcuts here. You can press Control Alt Enter. I'm going to go to Control Test Scene, and then we should see that sun. So you can see the sun now is glowing on and off throughout the scene. And like I said, obviously you can see the characters walk. Got a simple 2-frame walk inside his movie clip. Alright, so that's how you create a simple looped movie clip animation.